I know y'all saw the title of the video. Today, I'm gonna be showing y'all my motorized AT-AT walker that I made out of Legos. And yeah, I'm gonna be going over how the build process went. I'll just be giving like a tour of the model itself, and then explaining how it works and some of the design considerations and things that could be better about it. So yeah, I hope you enjoy. Alright, so I have the model here. It was made with my own pieces. I did not buy this as a set. However, I'm not going to call it my own creation or my own design because it is based off of a Lego set. It is based on Lego set number 10178, the motorized AT-AT Lego set that came out in 2007. That was a bit before my time. I was 2 years old, so I was not buying my own Legos. I was not a Star Wars fan at 2 years old. But I saw that, hey, I have the motor and battery box that came in the set, and I realized that I can build it myself. And so I found the instructions online. If you don't know, if you go on lego.com, you can find any instruction for any Lego set pretty much on their database. They have like a database, and you can just search up the set number, try and get it by keyword, and it'll come up with PDFs of the instructions. So I looked at that. So I had some of the pieces, and I said, okay, my family's gonna be gone for the weekend. Some people might throw a party. I'm going to use the house to build this thing. So it took like 72 hours of me just scrounging around, finding as many pieces as I can that went to the thing. I still have the bin that I used. I just collected pieces that looked like they would go to the set here, a bunch of gears, things like that. And then I assembled the set, and it's what you see now. So I'll show you some more of like the outside and inside of what I was able to put together.
All right, so I have the walker here. I'll give you all the 360. There it is. So you'll see that the exterior features a lot of the paneling that you're probably used to with the Lego AT-AT. A lot of it's done with those ratchet joints there, but it all goes together pretty nicely. Like there's not a lot of huge noticeable gaps, which I do appreciate, except for at the front here, and that's because that's where the actual walking mechanism is, so it needs space to actually move the legs. And then also the neck will move, as I'll show you, so it needs space to allow movement there. Moving to the head, this entire section opens up, and inside we have an AT-AT driver. I've never owned a Lego AT-AT set except for a microfighter to get that character, so it's nice to have built an AT-AT for him to actually drive. All right, moving around, we can take a look at one of these legs. I should probably add paneling here, but I've just left it bare. There they are. And on the side, you see I made a little lever so that I can activate the battery box from outside, and I'll show you how that works. So I turn it forward for it to walk forward, and backwards for it to walk backwards. But you see what I meant about the head moving, it like moves in a little circle. So yeah, that's how it works. I know I just said that's how that works, but I know a lot of you want to know really how the walking mechanism works with only one motor, so I'm going to show you how. So to show you how this works, I've actually removed one of the legs and placed the AT-AT on its side. So let's start with where the power comes from. The power comes from the battery box right here. It's this big block thing there, and that connects to the motor. The motor, as you can see, is right here. It's this object here, and that connects to this gray gear. Well, it doesn't connect directly to it, but there's a gear that it connects to that turns this gray gear. And this gray gear is connected throughout this entire shaft here. And this shaft is connected to the legs. So if I got the other leg back, it would connect, like the leg would connect here. And so the shaft would be connected to the leg, like that. So if I turn this on, you'll see that thing spins, right? And that's what actually moves the leg. It's like shrugging your shoulder. Like if you roll your shoulders forward, if you do that, it's that same kind of motion that it does to the leg. So, and if you see this thing here, this one is facing that way. So it's like almost parallel facing backwards, and the opposite leg in the front is facing parallel forwards. So whenever this front leg is as far back as it can be, the other one is as far forward, and that keeps it balanced. So then the gears from this front shaft, you can see here, also spin this back shaft, and this back shaft also spins the back legs in the same way. To keep it balanced, it has to be in a specific orientation. So you can see this orientation here. That leg is forward and this one's back, just like the front legs, right? But also this leg specifically has to be forward. And like I said before, this leg will be back. And this is a balanced position. If it were forward, if this leg were forward and this one were back, this would not be balanced and it would fall over, and it can't walk like that. So that's why it has to be that way. And then as for the head, let me see if I can, if you see in there, I forget what that part is called, but it spins and it connects to the gear mechanisms in there, and it allows this here to spin, and while this spins, it moves the head up and down based on how it's spinning. So that's how the entire mechanism works. And this lever here is connected to the battery box, and the battery box can make the motor spin forwards or backwards. So if I push it forwards, you see it walks in a forwards direction. It's kind of weird because it's on the ground. And if I do backwards, it walks in a backwards direction. So yep, that is how the whole model works. So what design flaws are there in my model? There are some design flaws compared to the actual set because I had to use my own pieces. I did not have every single piece, so I had to improvise on something. So a lot of the design issues come in the legs and then the gear mechanisms. So starting with the legs, you see I had to use this Technic beam instead of this like studless one. That's pretty minor, but getting into these joints is where the bigger issues come about. So this black piece here is very good in keeping the joint together. So this entire leg here has to be able to swing so that it can bend to, like when it does the spinning motion, it has to be able to bend, if that makes sense, so that it can accept the weight. And this joint is, or that piece is very good in keeping the knee joint together. I don't have enough of those pieces to go around, so I had to use this and this. This is not as strong. So what happens is the red pins you see here, they become loose on this side, and if I don't tighten them, the leg will just come apart, and it's really bad. And the AT-AT's knee literally gives out, which is not great. The same thing happens here. You can see the pin there getting loose. I have to push it back in, and then it's good. That just happens over time. So it's not ideal, but as you can see, it does walk. Like I said earlier in the video, it's very important that these legs be in a certain orientation. So if this leg is facing this way, then this leg needs to be in the exact opposite direction. And then this back leg needs to be in a perpendicular direction to this leg, if that makes sense. And so the way in the Lego set that they make sure this happens is instead of using those tiny little black gears here, they use these 4-tooth gears. And what that does is it locks it in, if this zooms, in a specific orientation. And that orientation is what you need to keep these legs in that position. What happens with mine is, since these gears have many teeth on them, they tend to get out of alignment, if that makes sense. And if that happens, even if it's off by 1 tooth, the entire thing will just come apart. So that's why the actual set uses these. I don't have enough of these, so that's why I didn't use them.